on the live stream anyway. Um, might as well hear myself as well. So
Well, it's push to talk's easy. I can deal with push to talk. So we are live. I'm going to do an announcement in Discord. But we're live. So we'll wait for people to show up. But are you excited for this, Darsh?
yeah, like they're finally kind of starting the entire proper CitizenCon again. Because this is going to be a mix of live and pre-recorded. I believe last year was only pre-recorded. So um so now I hope, well, I don't know hope, but I bet they're going to be late again just because doing a live stream of such magnitude always has some last second technical difficulties. Like we all know that.
I mean, they are saying like there's you can see the countdown on the screen. They are saying 25 minutes till live. So I don't
I
know.
should
I'm
turn
I'm
that
wondering
on
if
then.
it's stream starts in 25 minutes exactly. So we're gonna have to see what you know which elements of this are pre-recorded. Like maybe the first bit is pre-recorded and the
Oh,
last
so
bit isn't.
loud. Oh, that was so loud. Whew. There we go. I'm muted. I muted the stream. Uh,
Perfect.
yeah.
Hey, Sunjammer, how's it going?
Is Pedro in chat? Because someone just said, I love this music at Pedro-CIG. Oh, I
I
can't tap
hope
completed.
Pedro's there. Yeah. The music for Star Citizen is really friggin' good. Like
Mm.
really good. You know what, Sunjammer? Um, I'm really excited for this. I feel like and I'm making this up out of nowhere, right? Like I've got no reason to be saying this, but I'm saying it anyway. I feel like this is going to be a significant citizen con. They're theming it the road to 4.0. We're talking about like the evolution of several game systems, like the evolution of flight, the evolution of like um, cargo, and I don't know. I think it's gonna tell us a lot about where the game's going.
Mm. Yeah, well, that is usually the thing with the good citizen guns. Like maybe there was one or two where it was just more of the same because they were stuck in a rut, in development rut, waiting for things. But yeah, uh, last year you could say it was kind of like that because the biggest thing that we got to see Pyro, but then it's not a new thing. We've already seen planets. We got to see volumetric clouds though, and then we got those in game. So
And
mm.
so the difference between last year and this year, I think one of the big differences is really that last year we had a little bit more of a look at the systems that are going to run the game, Quanta,
Yeah,
um, and we're not getting that this year.
no. This is more player facing features instead of back end stuff. Yeah, like usually when they do back end stuff, they do it like the tier zero thing, where they first do parity with the existing system and then they start building on top of them. Like when we get physicalized cargo, it's not gonna feel that much different. They won't add, manually having to load your ship with cargo. You'll still buy stuff, but when you get into the ship, you'll be able to grab every individual box and shove them around instead of there being just a hunk of geometry that you can interact with. And then afterwards, they'll do drones and forklifts and bigger tractor beams and build on top of that.
Well, and it's like salvage, right? Like they showed off salvage in the Reclaimer as tier zero of like you have to have 4 or 5 buddies with tractor beams because the box comes out and it just sort of sits there. And if you want to move anything or stack anything, like it's a manual process, and they'll get beyond that. But I don't know. 4.0 is going to be significant. It's going to be the first new system in Star Citizen that we've ever seen. It's going to be completely new tech as well by the time 4.0 hits. I know we're getting we're getting PES in 3.18, but
at 318, not 3.18.
Right, sorry, 318.
Yeah. It took me a while to get around that this isn't a decimal system. It's versioning system. So yeah, so the decimal the number after the first period can go above 9, which is
bothers me. But
yeah. At least they're not using fractions.
Okay, so are we too quiet there, Sunjammer? Because I can turn us up. And also, how is the music on the stream?
Oh, this will be. Well, let me see that I have everything set up properly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can use my Go XLR to mute to adjust the volume of the stream. That'll be crucial.
I'm hearing it now through you. Or wait, am I?
Again? But I turned it off. Is it gone now?
Yes, it's gone now.
And it's playing now?
That's correct.
But I turned it off. What the hell, Go XLR?
I love audio.
You don't like the bugs that come with it. I don't either. Right. Before you were hearing yourself, and I muted you. Now you're hearing the stream, which is on another device, and I forgot to mute that.
Got it.
So the way I have it set up, that and the way Go XLR works, which is fantastic, is it also has a thing called broadcast mix, which is an input that you can put your raw microphone input, and then you can put everything that's also playing on your computer into it, and you control it via the sliders. Perfect.
Yeah, I've got the same thing on the Beacon. It's lovely. It makes doing audio much easier when it works.
Yeah,
but
when it works.
When it works, I find that audio is still so weird. It's like no, you can't have like 2 audio inputs into a computer. No, never. Just one. I don't know. Like there's just
you need an external device that mixes it for you before you input it. Yeah, no, you choose one or the other.
But like there's these weird like, okay, I've got one set of headphones, I've got 2 computers. Can I get my audio from both computers through the same headset? Not without like extreme trickery, you know? Like it's nothing simple. Just I hate audio. Anyway, that's a complete aside. Let's
hate
talk about
and love audio. Yeah. Citizen. How many have you gone through? How many CitizenCons have you been through?
I have watched every single one. I have attended 3 or 4. I don't remember.
I think.
Same question.
I missed the first CitizenCon, but that was not because of I just didn't care. It was I was on a work trip at that time for some reason. At GDC.
I think technically I missed the first CitizenCon because wasn't the first one like just a personal gathering of people in like LA and they all went out for drinks and dinner or something?
Oh, maybe if you want to count that one, but I'm counting the first one as the GDC event where the helmet thing came around. So missed that one. I did watch the video recently. So much progress since then.
Yeah. I there's, I've been to a couple CitizenCons. They've had their good parts and bad parts. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been to every single one of them afterwards. I
Nice.
actually forgot I went to the 2014 one, which was the day after Gamescom. I completely forgot that I went there. And then, I was watching it. So I was watching the video of it, and seeing all the cool things were happening, and all the people having fun. And then literally said to myself, "Man, I wish I'd gone to that one." And then the camera pans to the audience, and I see myself right in the front fucking row. And then the memories start coming back. It was good. Yeah, that was the Idris sale, the
I
announcement of
mean, it's
50 million. 50 million. Can you remember? Can you
we we
imagine
are
that?
at we are at 10 years now of these,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm?
It's been a long time. The memories sort of start to blur together, but we've got 15 minutes here. I'm going to switch over to this quickly because I wanted to quickly talk about what we're going to see, just
Hmm.
because I feel like it. And I'm running the stream, so I can do whatever I feel like. It's great having that kind of power. Anyway, Planetary
Hey, I
Pyro.
just, but one thing I just realized, if you switch over to the countdown again, you see that UI element?
Yep.
That is very first person visor HUD.
It is. And we do know that they've been doing a lot of work on getting ship and FPS HUDs into building blocks, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Sorry for that interruption, but yeah,
no, no, no.
that
It's
just clicked.
well, and that actually gets me to something here because we can look at the the things that they're going to be showing, right? Planetary Pyro, but like design brief investigations. If we're talking about investigations, are we going to start talking about FPS scanning and
You gotta, yeah. If they're just limiting them to finding a random pad, picking it up, we've had that for years. That's nothing CitizenCon worthy. They have to push it.
that's the thing. Like some of these are very self-explanatory. Like Planetary Pyro is probably the most self-explanatory one. We're going to see Pyro. And
Yeah,
we've already
again.
kind of seen Pyro, but we're going to see it again. We're going to see how much it's evolved, where it is now. That's going to be
Mm.
great. But design briefs, a completely new mission archetype, that's going to be interesting, you know?
I want more non-combat stuff in Star Citizen.
I want more non combat stuff until the combat works. Because FPS combat right now, let's be honest,
Yeah.
it
It,
plays great, but the AI just isn't there.
no, either it's there and it mows you down, or it's just standing around doing nothing. Yeah, so there's no in between. It's if I find myself either completely just walking through an underground facility, or getting destroyed in the first 15 seconds.
Exactly, and there is no in between.
No.
Quick question for everyone in chat though: which of these are you looking forward to most? Because there are a lot. Check out the list, but Darsh, which of these are you looking forward to most?
Oh, let me open it up because I don't have it. Right now I'm on a laptop, so it's slightly I'm slightly limited in my ways of the Google.
Got it.
Um, well, let's see, Planetary Pyro.
Well,
Hmm. Uh, why don't you say for yourself while I just refresh my memory with going through
yeah,
the
sure.
list?
So, I mean, I'm really excited for Power Play multi crew. That's going to be great. Um, I think what I'm most excited for though is the need for multiple speeds. Um, I I have said for a long time now that I think the way speeds and travel work in Star Citizen need to change,
Mm-hmm.
especially leaving atmosphere. And I don't know if they're going to touch that in this, but leaving Atmo in a significant number of the ships in Star Citizen is not a fun experience. You point up, you hit max thruster, and you sit
Mm.
and you wait for up to like 10 minutes if you're taking off in something like a reclaim, like
Oh
something
yeah,
heavy. Like
yeah.
it's
I
just
I,
not
I
fun.
so I sort of understand it because it is a big fucker of a ship. Right. Am I allowed to swear on this show?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. It is a big ship. It's heavy, and it somehow has to reflect that. If it's just as maneuverable and easy to get out of a sticky situation as a single seater fighter, that kind of just makes it OP. For what it is, it has to have drawbacks that that have to be balanced against its benefits. Everything has to be perfectly balanced. If a ship is just tedious and doesn't bring anything beneficial to the gameplay, uh, it's yeah, of course, it's bad. But yeah, I agree that for some ships, especially if they plan on making Orison a well-traveled destination.
I literally will not spawn there. Period. Ever. Like, and I did, like, I made that my home for a bit to try out the Siege of Orison,
Mm.
and then I reset my account and set my home somewhere else because I refuse to. It's stupid. It is stupid. Anyway, I hope that that will change. Um, Sunjammer, I do agree
what
with you there. What about you, Darsh? What's yours?
Oh, probably the same. Like I've been harping about the need for complex multiplayer gameplay, especially in ships uh, that support it. You know, the actual multiplayer ships for different roles like co-pilot, missile jockey, engineer, stuff like that. That has been like the dream ever since I heard about Star Citizen and its inclusion of ships like that instead
Yeah.
of just the previous games that were even online, not even online, Elite Dangerous doesn't have that. It's like you can go
It,
for a ride with someone, but you're not impacting the gameplay experience in any meaningful way.
yeah, and you're right. Like power, like they say actually in the description, this is what's going to allow homesteading and multi-crew gameplay, which considering the number of ships in Star Citizen that are specifically built for multi-crew and they just haven't had it yet, getting access to that multi-crew gameplay is going to be fantastic. Um, but like I look at most of these and like power play can completely change the game on its own. Multiple speeds can completely change the
Mm.
game. A new underground, it's really interesting here because like we're talking about an enormous reimagining of underground facilities, but the new gameplay possibilities and talking about commerce and like uh, could completely change large aspects of the game. All of these,
It makes
except
kind of it
Lorville,
make, except what?
except the Lorville Redux. Lorville Redux is the only one that
Yeah.
doesn't change the game, but
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah, yeah. It could if it makes it a lot easier for them to create more points of interest in the big city because we have three now, and you know,
That's true. It's going to depend what they do. I seem to remember a long time ago them talking about how um like they're doing it in Squadron, I believe, for the giant mining station that whose
Shubin,
name I can't remember.
Archon.
Yeah. Yeah, but like almost the entire thing is explorable, and because they've got tools to procedurally generate areas now, like are they going to go back and generate more explorability in Lorville? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Mm. Anyway, we've got just a bit over 5 minutes to go before we start. I'm gonna go grab a beer.
Do it.
So I'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and hopefully, even by the time we actually start.
Sounds good. And yeah, you know what? You're right, Dan. It's a good point. Like we do know that player housing and player uh, the garage spaceports hangars we know that like player housing and player hangars are things that are going to be coming. Is this going to be our first look at them? I don't know. Where I'm sitting, I don't think we are ready for what we're going to be shown. And I feel like that every year. I've only been disappointed, I think, once, which I think was 2015. I don't know. Years all blend in. But like, this segment is brought to you by beer. For me, this segment is brought to you by coffee because it's not even 11 a.m. But the beer will happen later. So as this starts, you're gonna have to let me know how audio levels are. If I need to up the stream, down the stream, regardless, let me know. We also are going to have some fun in a bit because at some point Shiver will be joining us, and I'm gonna have to play around with getting all of us on screen. But we'll figure that out. Oh, am I a bit low? Okay, give me a second.
Type John Crew in chat.
Oh, hey, it's Disco.
Everybody's ready for CitizenCon. Type John Crew in chat.
John Crew, John Crew.
Oh, anybody that's spelling it wrong, you're not ready for CitizenCon. There's an E at the end of crew. If you're ready for CitizenCon, type John Crew with an E at the
John
end of
Crew in the chat. Oh.
That person wasn't even close.
Amateurs.
That's not how you spell John in any language. Was that a Y? Where did you get a Y? What was that?
What I miss? What I miss?
Soft drink called Innabrew?
Nothing. We're
Dandelion Bird?
Disco is trying to tell people how to spell John Crew because apparently no one in chat knows how to spell John Crew.
Iron Brew and Dandelion and Burdock.
Personally, I believe it's JOANQRUEUEUE.
That's it. Audio test good.
John Crew.
Show starts in about 3 minutes and 40 seconds, everybody.
I could spell
I believe
it.
that's correct, yeah.
Because you're not.
Also, hey, chat, say hi to Misty.
Hello.
Oh, one thing. Damn it.
Okay, this is an audio level test. Are we looking good? This music is so good. Goddamn. I love it so much. Okay, so is it going up and down? I wonder if it changes when I switch that.
Okay, there we go. I set the set my phone up as the as chat for this because I don't
Nice.
have enough screen space.
I mean, I've got two monitors and I still don't have enough screen space. And one of them is 1440 ultra wide.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as enough screen space.
No, never.
Okay, so what's his name? Tyler Witkin posted earlier that the show is around 5 hours, give or take an hour, which to me seems like a lot of time for a give or take.
Yeah, so if we take him on his word for everything, so the pre-recorded stuff is 4 hours, but they could also add up to 2 hours of stuff,
which is insane. So we'll see what happens in a minute.
Yeah.
It's Christmas, boys and girls. It's Christmas. Oh.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Red one.
Do you guys know the story behind Red One? Like why Chris was so
I do.
Yeah.
It wasn't it because someone like that was Frankfurt and it was a German tech doing all the stuff and
No, it was
Wasn't
Jared. It was Jared doing it.
oh, it was Jared doing it. Okay.
Yes, but the computer completely froze up and crashed and had to be rebooted. And they didn't want to show a computer rebooting and firing up Star Citizen, from dry.
Yeah.
So he just kept ignoring Chris, but Chris didn't know that had happened.
Yeah. But look, Jared kept his job. It's great.
Yeah. So,
what my favorite thing about the community is?
What am I gonna say?
John Crow.
It's gonna sound cliche, but
they believe as much as we do.
I love them because they continue to support us.
It's the only thing that's kept me going.
I've seen a lot of games and I've seen a lot of invested players, but
they're right there with us throughout the whole process.
It's unlike anything I've ever worked on.
The thing I really like the most about the community is how welcoming they are.
To new players entering the verse for the first time.
New players come every day, and I find that
they're always happy to show people the ropes.
I found it very wholesome.
When I first did the CitizenCon, where I got to fly the Carrack,
I missed
everyone was so supportive, and the cheers I got when we were flying through that wormhole was unbelievable.
Their effort they put into their creativity,
such as building a simulator inside of an entire RV or
machinimas. I love watching them on my lunch break.
I enjoy watching the videos on the content.
There was one recently on Twitter where it was like the 100 players entering the atmosphere that just looks really grand.
I love all the memes.
Some of the incredible fan art and passionate drive that you see come out of them is fantastic.
How they come up with crazy ideas each and every day and surprise me.
I really like all the crazy shenanigans they get up to in the PU.
I can't cuss, can I?
The new and exciting ways they find to
break shit.
Just the random stuff that you do, it's not like the gameplay we intend.
People doing crazy stunts in their ships.
I'm from the character team, and so I think it's cool when they show off all the ships, because that's really the only time I get to see them.
They create the community by themselves, and that's really, really cool.
My favorite thing about the community around events.
Going to Bar Citizen.
It's always fun to meet some of the backers.
They've all been lovely to meet in person. Even if they're really frustrated, you can tell it's just, they have so much love for it.
I really like it when the community is very detail-oriented about our work.
To see how excited they are about our progress.
How much inspiration we get from them, from their ideas.
I love the genuine enthusiasm.
The quick turnaround on feedback. I love that.
And how they're always interested in what's coming up.
I especially appreciate the people who are able to keep track of dates.
They, call us out.
It really impacts our decision-making process for, what did we do right? What did we do wrong?
It is the most rewarding thing in the entire development process.
We're not making the game alone. We're making it with the community.
Still keep fighting us.
They really do make all this possible. I'm living the dream. We all are.
My favorite thing about the community, it'd be impossible for me to narrow it down to one. And if somebody said you had to, I'd probably just turn and walk away.
That's such a good response. I love it.
That was lovely.
I really like CIG. They're just good.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. Ever since I saw Star Wars as a wide-eyed 8-year-old,
that's a throwback.
I dreamt of being a hotshot pilot saving the galaxy or a lovable rogue making my way across the cosmos. It inspired me to make Wing Commander and has influenced everything I've done since then.
Can you imagine if they went with this demo? Like all the screens on arms just moving in and out of the way. That would be...
I'd like to show you something I've been working on.
I hope they do.
But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. I want to build a game I always wanted to build, but I didn't have the tools to do until now. One that you can fly off a carrier fighting a heroic war on the front lines, but also one that you can muster out and find your own fortune in the stars wherever your spaceship takes you. I want to be able to
I've
share
seen
this
this in
experience
so long.
with my friends and fight against real opponents in space, not just AI. And I want this to be as good or better than any other game out there. And I want to actively push the boundaries of what you can do in a game. None of this would have been even possible 2 years ago. But with Moore's Law driving PC performance and cost, and the gaming community embracing talented developers via crowdfunding,
they'll
I believe
show
it is
every
possible today.
keynote.
I've never been accused of having a small vision, and so I thought it was best if I share my ambition with you visually.
Just to show the
I'm pretty
process,
excited by how it's
or maybe
turning
just
out.
like,
So why don't you come join
here's
me?
how it started and here's how it is now.
I mean, it's
10
it's
years
10
ago,
years,
I
right?
stepped out onto a stage at GDC Online in Austin, Texas, and revealed Star Citizen to the world. We broke all records in crowdfunding, helped kickstart a revival in space games, and embarked on a journey with all of you to build the most immersive virtual universe ever conceived. I did say that I'd never been accused of having a small vision all those years ago. Every year since then, we have celebrated our anniversary with what we dubbed CitizenCon, a celebration of all of you, our community, without which we would not be here. When I made the original pitch for Star Citizen, there were no employees, no studios, and just a proof of concept demo cobbled together in CryEngine by myself, the help of a few people in their spare time. You couldn't play Star Citizen as it was an idea, not a game. The first few years was more talk and not as much show, but we managed to release the Hangar module in 2013, Arena Commander in 2014, and the first steps into the persistent universe with Star Citizen Alpha 2.0 at the end of 2015. The real game changer was Star Citizen Alpha 3.0, which we released at the end of 2017, which allowed players to first step foot on fully realized and detailed moons instead of just traversing space. 2018 brought the first planet in Hurston, and from there we filled out the rest of the Stanton system from ArcCorp to Microtech and finally Crusader with its floating cloud city of Horizon last year. Today, there are just over 4 million registered accounts, with 1.7 million of them having purchased the game. And while we still have lots of features and content to build before I'm ready to consider Star Citizen done, people are playing more than ever. This year, our average daily unique players is around 50,000, and we have peaked at 130,000 several times this year.
Yes.
This compares with just under 10,000
Really
back in
good.
2017 and 32,000 last year. But the most amazing stat is the average playtime of someone that logs in 2022 is 3 hours a day. Back in 2017, this was 48 minutes, 64 minutes in 2018, and then jumping to 2 hours
Average
in
3 hours a
2019.
day.
From there, we've been steadily increasing. In 2022 alone, people have spent 36 million hours in the verse so far. So this is a testimony to the hard work, the development, and our online teams have been
90
doing
day stops.
To make Star Citizen, even in its alpha state, more performant and stable than it's ever been. And the increasing amount of features and content that are available making for viable daily gameplay, even in Star Citizen's alpha state. Cloud
didn't he
Imperium
say he's
Games
not
has
gonna do
grown
a
just
keynote?
as much. Today we're at 835 staff worldwide,
thought so,
all dedicated to
but,
building the most immersive
I guess that just
virtual
means
science
no
fiction
live
universe ever.
presentation, but just a
In the
pre-recorded
next few
video.
weeks, we'll be welcoming 500 staff to their brand new studio at Manchester Goods Yard in Enterprise City, where we are filming this show from. All of this
Star
is down to
Citizen
your
live stream
patience
has
and
23,000
support.
viewers,
Building a
and
game
I'm
with
seeing
the scale,
at least
detail, and scope of
another
Star Citizen,
2,500
as you can see
just
today, that allows us to
in
seamlessly
my
go
follow
anywhere from
channels
inside to
on the
outside,
dashboard on
from
Twitch.
space to planet, with no
with,
loading screens,
viewing,
all with millimeter detail,
parties.
with everything being
Like this one.
explorable, persistent, interactable, with thousands of players online together. At the visual quality of the biggest AAA games is perhaps the most ambitious goal that has ever been set off towards in gaming. I am both humbled and thankful of being in the position of chasing my dream to build a truly immersive universe.
Our dream.
And it has only been possible by building it outside the traditional publisher system, with a direct relationship to our secret source, you, our community. The strength of the Star Citizen community is the real unwritten
He means
headline
me,
to our
chat.
longevity and future. The connections and friends people have made along the way, the
everybody else.
events organized inside the game and outside by the various orgs. This year, we've had 140 Bar Citizen events.
Myers
put on
got
around the
1,000,
world,
Tirada
with some
has
of the most
600,
recent being in
Burks
China,
has
South
600,
Korea, Singapore, Paris, and
Space
Florida.
Tomato 300,
The Chinese Bar
Morpholovich,
Citizen had over
more
300
more
attendees
follow,
and
just
a 5-meter long 3D printed model of the Retribution super battleship from Squadron 42 built by the local community. Hopefully, next year we can return to an in-person CitizenCon, and I and the rest of the team at CIG
Yes,
will have the chance to
please.
spend some time with you in person. But for now, let's get the show on the road. 10 years ago, the ship I arrived on was a single-seater. Where we're going in the future, we're going to need a bigger ship. I present to you
Yes.
the only constant. You may have thought it was green screen, but we need something a little bigger for where we're going to entertain you and tell you about the game in the future. Here's a dedication plaque The only constant in game development is change. Constellation Phoenix, my favorite ship, prototyped by Roberts Space Industries, commissioned from London Shipyards, Earth, Sol 3, launched October 2952, Manchester Starport. Captain Jared Huckabee. Jared, that wasn't the deal. You weren't going to be the captain of the ship.
I sent an email.
Oh, that must have gone in my junk folder.
Take a seat. Welcome
Okay,
aboard.
well, that's not bad.
That is so
It's quite a nice
cool.
little setup here, isn't it?
We've been talking about this on and off since 2015.
I know. I had to do something to get you over to the UK.
Hey, you know, he knows what I like. So what do you have?
Well, let's do a science fiction drink.
Right.
Can you do a Pangalactic Gargle Blaster?
Pangalactic Gargle Blaster.
Oh, look at it on the shelf.
I
He's
can do
got
this
the
really dry martini
JRDF
that we have
Arrow and
pre-prepared
the
for you.
Freelancer Max.
Hey, it's our first show. We gotta start small.
Look at that.
Hey, we'll get better. So what do we just do?
Well, the past 10 years and the future, the next 10 years and beyond, and the community.
Oh, we did that as an scenario.
Nice.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We didn't even plan that. All right.
Wow.
All right, so.
That is strong. Ooh, vodka.
That's why we didn't cover anything. So what do you think? Look at my
I don't know where
jacket.
that's from.
Stegman Cordamon, Voyager. Nice.
It's a bit
I like that they're just
I mean,
chatting.
you do look like you're in Night of the Roxbury.
Yeah. It's kind of cringe, but
No, I don't be a twinsy with you.
but it's
No,
also
let me check the rest
it's
of the
also
set
lovely.
out.
But it's tailored.
It looks good on you. I'm not saying it'd be the same for me. Oh wow! Look at all these cool artifacts. You got this Hadician artifact. There's a bunch of stuff here. That's really cool. The CitizenCon trophy. Wow, that's brilliant.
There's the models
they
on
had
the
it
desk
hooked me
there.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit in my chair.
I am. It's a very nice chair.
It's
I
a
like desk.
PTV
You got
and
the
an arrow.
bobblehead.
It's
This is a great place to
Jared's.
interview people
Jared's
from.
PTV and Dragonfly.
What's it like sitting over there?
It's personal stuff.
I'm getting a newfound appreciation for how awkward it is on this side. So what do you think? We should start the show?
I think we should start the show.
All right, let's start the show. Our first presentation of the day is Planetary Pyro with our good friend Maximilian Kailish from our Frankfurt studio. He's going to take you on a tour of 6 of the neat locations coming in the
That
upcoming
is
Pyro
an
system.
absolutely
the first of our journey to 4.0
gorgeous
stages of the day.
set.
So
Yeah.
take it away, Max.
The quantum drive screen in the background.
We'll talk about it.
Oh, good.
Didn't even notice that.
All right, Planetary Pyro, here we go, boys and girls.
My name is Max. I'm here
Hey,
on
Max.
behalf of the Planet Content team today. I'm a senior environment artist, and I want to show you some of the cool stuff that we worked on in the last 2 years.
This is so much nicer than just a webcam feed from ISC.
So I have
They've,
Pyro 1 open
put some effort
already.
into this one.
It's live in engine. This is like the current version of Pyro, so we're still gonna do like a polish pass on it, so not everything is done, but we still wanted to show you what we have so far. So the idea behind Pyro 1 is that it gets hit by solar flares like repeatedly. We got some concept art from the concept art team, and the way that they visualized these solar flare hits was like glowing marks and streaks all over the planet. Unfortunately, the tech for the glowing part of it is still being worked on, so we had to make do with what we could use. So it's not glowing, but you can still see a lot of the blue coming in. Yeah, as you can see, Pyro 1 already has some volumetric clouds. Not
Those
all of the
clouds.
pyroplanets
Yeah.
have their volumetric clouds yet.
Wow.
So let's jump to one of the blue spots on the planet. I just tweaked like the sun position a little bit to make it look a bit nicer. And then you can see why it's blue. We added like tons of these crystals to Pyro 1.
Ooh.
We've used
Can you
crystals
mine
before
that?
on Wala, but I think we
I
were
hope
a
so.
bit too... yeah, we played it a bit too safe on Wala. I think we only put like crystals as ground cover assets. But for Pyro 1, we really
It's
wanted
so
to push
impressive
the
that they're
shapes.
able to do all this
so you
in
can find like
engine.
these really large
Yeah.
crystals here. Heisenberg would be really happy here. Okay, then another interesting thing to
Just the fact
highlight
that they
here,
have
plans
a
over
full
there.
planet
So what's
in terms of
interesting about
megabytes
those
of
is
data,
we made them
not
like 3 or 4
terabytes,
years ago.
is
Yeah.
mind-blowing to
They
me.
were supposed to be part of like a mission in on a space station. The mission was scrapped, unfortunately, and ever since then, this asset set has just been sitting in our vault. It's a really cool plant set, and I'm happy that we finally found a spot to use them. So this is another spot I want to highlight. It's also important for us that we do add something memorable to each planet. In the case of Pyro 1, it's this spiky rock set that looks really intimidating. We tried to push the scale of the assets for the Pyro system. We felt like by now we got like the basic rocks and the scattering of the basic rocks to like a very good quality. So now we can explore.
You know, I would agree with that. Scattering
shapes,
has
I guess.
improved by leaps and bounds ever since it was first in.
It's not done yet.
And
it
you were
still needs a
tripping on
polish
boulders
pass,
every
but I wanted to
every
show
step.
you guys what it feels like when you're in
Yeah,
game,
they've done a great job getting
walking
everything
around here.
more
Now I
streamlined
want to
and
show you
more
my personal favorite biome of Pyro
diegetic.
1. It's this biome
Oh, that's
here,
cool.
which has these really cool looking rock
The
formations.
erosion
they
stuff,
are
yeah.
massive in scale. Like if I jump in game here, you get a good feeling for the scale of them. Yeah, it's possible to land your spaceship on them.
Nice.
It's probably really
the
fun
only thing
to,
that still
race
kinda
through here.
breaks my
We
immersion
can
and bothers me
imagine that
about
this is gonna be
the
like a
planetary
nice
tech
combat space
is
as well, because they do
where
provide
the
nice
planet
cover. Let's
surface
just jump to a couple different areas on Pyro 1 before we
intersects
move
with
to Pyro
like a
2.
boulder and stuff. There's a very sharp cutoff. There's no like shader element to blend the two. You know what I mean?
They'll get that though. Like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll get that. Yeah, definitely.
that's a beautiful. I like the blue of Pyro 1.
Yeah.
So
Very
now
deep
we're on
blue.
Pyro 2. In comparison to Pyro 1, you can immediately see the planet is like way more colorful. There's more variation in the use and values of
Very
the
Hearthstone-like.
colors. We have like browns and like bone white spots, some red, and it's all contrasted by like a blue clear ocean. So Pyro 2 doesn't have volumetric clouds yet, but they will be there at release. So now I jump to one of the biomes of Pyro 2. What I want to highlight here is the improvements that we made to how assets spawn on the side of mountains. That was something that was always quite challenging for us to do, to have some natural transition from the terrain to the geometry,
Exactly.
and then also have like the rocks form in a natural way. Now we can make nicer rock formations. It's not quite there yet. There are still improvements planned for it, but I think in comparison to what we had before, this is a big step forward. Also, what you might see is the drawing distance of assets has been greatly improved. So everything you see here in the distance is actual geometry.
That looks
if we
so
were to
good
fly
on the
all way
horizon.
over there, you
Like,
would
Yeah.
so
will
good.
see
The fact that
that
actually
this
have those
is,
rocks jutting out still visible on the
like cliff
horizon instead of just
formations.
popping in
And I
and
think
get
it looks
closer.
really
Yeah,
cool, like
definitely.
the silhouette
That's
of the
fantastic.
terrain.
Because it
Yeah, let's
does
fly
improve the
through
silhouette, like you
canyons.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do this in a spaceship, but I'm horrible at flying, so I'm just going to use the camera in editor. So now I jumped ahead.
That
to
also looks
a really
fun to
biome
fly
on
through
Pyro
that
2.
terrain.
It's simple.
Oh,
but I
I
think sometimes
imagine
less
there's going
is
to be a
more.
lot of new
In this
racetracks
case,
through the
what
canyons.
sets this biome apart from the rest of the
Pyro.
planet is that we added these calcified trees, and they spawn.
Yeah, Dan,
in
you're right.
very
Like the
dense
steep ridges
clusters.
around the rivers.
So you almost get like little
Absolutely.
forests of them. So it's supposed to look
I can
very
already
dry
hear
and kind of dead, but
Crucian
still,
and Corsair
in a
from Acme
pretty
Esports.
way. Okay,
you know,
if we look at it from
talking
this
about
angle,
what
I
race
really
are
like
gonna
about this biome is,
get into
the
Pyro,
contrast
because
that you
the
have.
Daymar rally
Here
is
on
still
the
going to
terrain,
remain,
it's
right?
pale, it's dry,
But it's going to be
but
more
then
of
in
a
the background
civilized
you have,
version, like
the
safer
nice,
version
clear
of
blue ocean.
a
So this is one
proper
of the
road race they
areas on
probably
Pyro
want to put in
2.
Pyro.
That'll
It's
be great.
kind of like a sandy desert, but we try to add like a lot of different geology assets, different mixes of bushes and grasses. So it's not like a dead desert, but it feels kind of lively.
But you know what?
And you find
I
like lots of
want
foliage
a
here.
biome that is
We
just
have like
dead
these
desert.
cliffs in the background, which are
Nothing else
really
but sand
dark.
dunes, not even a rock anywhere.
And it's another nice contrast.
You know,
get some
planet
that
where you have,
like
the saturated red
outcropping
terrain,
looks
and the dark
fantastic.
Yeah,
The way the
yeah,
sand
it
jump
does.
like
to this point here. What I want to highlight is the
where
improvements that we
it's
made
you
to
can see
our
that it's
ground
gathered
textures.
below the cliff,
So
but there's nothing on it
Exactly.
on the actual cliff
like
side.
2-3 years ago, we had to rely a lot on ground cover assets to add geometry and detail that the ground textures alone couldn't give us. But ever since we got terrain
look at those ground
displacement,
textures.
we get like really nice shapes just from the textures alone. And then if you combine it with ground cover assets, yeah, the result is really successful. How things blend together and the amount of detail that you see on the ground.
This sort of thing impresses me a lot more than
so now we're on
complete
Pyro 3. You saw some of it during last year's keynote demo.
Different bushes and rocks and everything. Just like a side of a cliff
so last year
with
you saw
a single
that,
bush.
like yellow is
Because
kind
they now
the
understand
color of Pyro 3.
that it's not all just cluttered.
So from this
But
distance, you can see through the volumetric
this is very
clouds,
Earth-like.
like a lot of the yellow coming through. We talked
this
about
is Pyro 3. This is the planet that we saw
yellow,
in last year's
which
demo.
is the moss, and I want to jump down to the planet surface and
yellow
show
moss.
you the amount of detail that you will see when going up close to the moss. So we're down at the surface now. I'm just gonna jump in game.
Man.
A lot of time and effort was spent on making
it's a lot more uniform for
just
larger
right.
swaths
so like the right level
of surface area.
And density.
It makes
so
it look bigger
really
and more
nice when it,
grandiose
like,
than
covers
just
these
having
rocks.
a bunch of different
And
stuff
then we also
cluttered
have, like, lots of
in a space, you know?
Smaller moss on the ground. We combine it with like yellow grass, and it makes for like a really interesting biome. So it was really important for us to make this biome look really dense.
So fluffy.
We pushed the amount of assets that we're using.
I want to
So
like
it's
lie
basically
down in
completely
that and
covered
just
in
rub my
foliage.
face all over it.
Compared to Hurston, for example,
Like a moss angel?
Hurston and Microtech, which
Exactly.
are probably our densest planets when it comes to foliage. This is way denser. The good thing is that we don't have any trees here, so all the budget we can use on ground cover, on grass.
That's what it.
Now we jump to
That's what I said. There was no
coast
trees. It
biome.
reminds
The
me of like
improvements we got
Scotland
to
or
the coast
Iceland.
biomes is that we can now use
very
OPR
Iceland.
override for every single biome. Previously, we could only use one global override per planet, which, as you can imagine, is not enough when you have something like Stanton 4, where you have snowy regions and the spruce tree regions, and one object preset just
Worth it.
cover every
Worth it.
coast.
Worth it.
We added these coral, like coral geology set to have some of the yellow also along the coast. So you see here, we always have like a little bit of yellow coming through, and eventually it transitions into the nice mossy areas. Previously, when we made coast object presets, we played it a bit safe and only used 1 or 2 asset sets. But due to the fact that we can now push the density along the coast as well, you can find different kinds of coral, seaweed, different pebbles and rocks, and other stuff. Now I jump to one of the volcanic regions on Pyro 3.
Volcanic,
you might
you
not
say?
expect to find vegetation here.
That looks
but we
nice and
did add
dead,
a
actually.
little bit of vegetation to
A little
this
bit of
region
vegetation,
to
but
make it a bit more interesting. What I want to highlight here is the quality bar that we set for ourselves when it comes to improving the look of our vegetation. So this is one of my favorite new vegetation sets that we created. You can see the amount of detail on display here. We have like nice little flowers.
It's varied
and
as it goes
these, like,
from the ground
nuts or
to
whatever,
the
like
peak.
pots.
I see
And
like
it's just
4
like a really
different
cool
types
asset
of
set. So when flying
plant
over the
elements
volcanic
in it.
regions, you
And
will
then the
find
little
cool
tufts
pockets
at the
of
end.
these,
That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
well
yeah,
done.
yeah.
scattered all around just to make the area.
So it's not
look
just
a
like
little
a
bit more lively.
homogeneous
Before we
plant
move on,
from
let's jump
the
around to a
ground to
couple
the
more
top, you know?
places.
That
Oh man.
the clouds. Oh, the clouds.
The clouds and the light and oh man, the little
now we're on Pyro
Kind of
4,
want to
which is
move to
my
Pyro
personal
if it
favorite
wasn't
of the Pyro
if it
system.
wasn't a lawless
Yeah, just full
wasteland.
disclosure, you can probably tell that the clouds here are not done yet. They do look a bit busted, but yeah, they will look amazing once the planet comes out. So let's focus on the terrain shapes. We created some of these terrain shapes special for Pyro 4 because it's loosely inspired by like Scottish Highlands. So there's not a lot of like verticality, not a lot of trees. So everything is kind of coming from the terrain and from the
Thanks,
smaller
Thatcher.
assets that we scatter.
You're ruining
on
Pyro
the
too.
terrain geometry. So jumping in game, and then you can see the amount of ground cover
Sunjammer,
assets
that's a
on
lie.
display. The variation in color.
I mean,
but it's all
more than
grounded
one
by,
tree
like,
would be
the
trees.
color of the soil. And it just looks like
Can kind of
we
give it
have
to them, yeah. I think I saw
multiple
2
new
trees when I was
vegetation
in
sets
Scotland.
on display here. So first of all, we have this bush set here, which is called I think it's called a fire.
Do you
stalk,
think we'll see an update
it's kind of
to
like a modified
the
version of the real world thing. They add like a little bit
movable
of
foliage
color
that they
to
showed off
the area,
years ago? Like when you
and to
walk
make
through it or
things
when a ship
pop.
lands that
Then
it deforms.
we have
It's still not
these
seeing
ones
that
here. I forgot the name of
No,
the
but
asset
I'm
set.
sure we will.
Yeah, they also look
Oh,
quite
those look
saturated and
like
interesting.
really big
We also
succulents.
try to improve the quality of our tree sets. If you,
Can you imagine
if
the
you
salad
compare
coming
like the
from
trees that we have on Hurston to these ones,
You could feed a family
the
of
geometry count is
10.
way higher. The texture resolution is a bit higher.
Those rocks jutting
and
out in
they
the
just look
background.
more polished and nicer, which means that eventually we have to go back to Hurston, to Microtech, and give the trees there like a little makeover.
Yes,
so
please.
what was really important for us was to
You know what?
improve
One thing
the
I
blending
noticed
between
is if
different
you look
biomes.
through a
So
16
you
times
see here,
scope
these are two fairly simple biomes. There's a
at
clear
a tree in a
distinction
distance is
between
just
them,
sprite at
but
this
the
moment.
transition still
It's
feels
very obvious and
natural.
ugly sprite.
So if we go down here,
They'll fix
we
that.
have,
Also,
like, the
that
red
transition
grass, and it
from
kind
one
of
biome to another.
feathers out. Yeah, it feels
Well
very
done.
organic and natural. Let's jump to the most experimental biome that we've made so far. So for this biome here, the concept art team gave us
that's giving me like
interesting
Alien
concept
Prometheus
art,
vibes.
because this is easily some of the
Actually
the
alien
biggest, rock formations
things.
that we have in the game so far. Actually, let me try to fly a ship so you can
You know,
see
I kind of
the
like that
scale
they started
of
with
them.
this, just
So
starting
they're
slowly.
massive in scale. And what was
is
the
massive.
hardest part about getting these to look right is
That is going to
they're
make some
supposed to
fun
look
racetracks.
really good from
Yes.
a distance.
Yeah, just have
because you
those
would expect
hoops
something
as
this big,
checkpoints.
yeah, to be visible almost from space. But then the tricky thing is also to make them look good when you're standing up close to them. Let me jump in game so you see how big these rocks actually are. So they are massive in scale. You can probably land your spaceship on them and
under
walk
them.
on them, and they make you feel like really small. But I think it's a really good visual that you have these like dark gray.
I really
rocks
like the
against
blood red
the
ground as
crimson
well.
Yes.
of the soil and the grass.
That is actually
so
quite
here's a
natural.
little happy accident where
like
we have the
a
volumetric
Japanese
clouds,
maple is
covering
red
the
all year
terrain,
round. So you know, and
because
there's
the height map,
the red
difference in
radish.
height,
You have there's
is
plants
so
that have
large, we
evolved on
actually
Earth
get, like,
to be
shapes
red
of the terrain
and still
poking out
be
of the
able to
volumetric clouds.
use use
Yeah, you can
photosynthesis
probably
to
spot some
grow.
of
So
the
yeah, this is
tiling
completely
issues that we
viable.
have here, which is something that we still need to look at. But like I said before, this is still work
But yeah,
in
you see
progress.
here, like the
So it's
transition
gonna change
between
a
the
bit.
ground and
Because
the
I
rock
mentioned
is like a very sharp
biodiversity
line.
along the coasts before.
Yeah,
That-
but we
that-
saw
I wanted to highlight what one of
we
the
saw in
coast
the other
biomes
one
on
where the
Pyro
sand
4
sort of
looks like.
ramped up it.
So
Like
this
they'll
one
they'll
is kind
fix
of
that.
this
I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, have no
sand.
doubt.
We scattered some of the seaweed, some of these lava plates, and some of these pebbles. And then we also get like nice seaweed moving.
You know what
with
they need
the
though?
waves of the
They
ocean.
need
One
good
interesting thing
incentives
on
to
Pyro
actually go
4 is
out
that
and
we have a
explore and
massive
experience
crater
all this.
region. On other planets, we have individual craters which are a whole height map or like 3-4 smaller
Yeah,
craters on one
Sunjammer,
height
that
map,
that
but this is
fog
actually
looked right
multiple
to
height
me.
maps forming one large
Like
crater.
we need that kind of
and you
fog
can see
in the
it
game.
all the way out. in
Also, that
space.
crater is
Like this
insane.
whole region
Yeah.
is one big crater, so it's a mix of like the global displacement texture and then the height maps of the ecosystems spawning on top, plus the volumetric clouds make it look really epic here. Now we've flown down to the surface of the crater. We wanted this to feel very.
See, there needs to be like a
spooky
huge,
and grim and
like
kind of dark.
like a
So we
trading
have these,
post in the middle of that
dark
crater.
fantasy forest-looking trees, which look kind of creepy. Then we bring some of the red grass back from the previous.
It'd be a shame
biome.
that the effort
go
that
down
these
to the
environment
surface
artists
of the
go
crater.
through to just
You can see
go
that we added
unnoticed
this
because there's
dark
no incentive to go there other than
forest-looking tree set, some creepy
the 10 people who
shapes,
just want to see that.
some
There needs to be the
moist
gameplay to fill these
looking
locations
ground
now.
cover assets, and this whole area is supposed to make you feel a bit uneasy. It's supposed to be hostile, and it's not safe.
There need to be
without
things to
your
mine. There
suit
need to
on.
be
So far,
down
we looked at
ships
4 of
to
the pyro planets. So let's switch it up and look
salvage,
at one
and
of
there
the
needs to
moons.
be like bases.
This one is Pyro 5C. Similar to Pyro 4, you can see that it has a landmark that you can see from space. In this case, it's not a crater, but it's like a long streak of slick obsidian. So let's fly down to the surface of the streak and have a look what it looks like from up close. Again, we start with like the global height map where there's like a little bit of a bump up, and then it goes down to form the crack, and then we scatter
I love the look of the
height maps on top.
the
to
background,
get the look that
the
we
horizon.
want. So if we go down here, you can see we start with like
it's going to be a completely new sky map
and then
for Pyro.
it transitions into like
everything's going to look so
quite
different. It's going to be great.
looking, mountain formations, and then down here they feather into like these longer ridges of bedrock before it becomes
I love the
smooth
way they
down
sculpted
here.
that. It looks like, you
And
know,
if we
the
jump
early
to this
tools
point,
where,
which
you know,
is
that
a
they
really
had like
cool spot because like the sun just
spearheads.
hits the obsidian
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
right
yeah,
way,
or
and everything
flint.
looks like nice and shiny. You can
Oh,
see
that
here
looks
that
so
the ground
amazing.
looks quite different from other planets.
The
So
sun
instead of
shiny.
soil,
Holy crap!
Yeah, it almost looks artificial in a way. Acid-wise, we're using one of
Now
our
the race
obsidian
to
sets
find the
that
best
you can also
sunset
find
is
on
just
Stanton
gonna
4. This one
gonna
got a
take
bit
off.
of an update, a bit of polish, so we improved the shapes, different textures just to make it look extra cool, like the way the sunlight hits these surfaces. To make this area a bit more interesting, we decided to add some of these white light gray shrubs, just so the area doesn't feel too samey, and it's always nice to have like the occasional pocket of vegetation. To set the obsidian biome apart from the rest of the planet, we went with the opposite route for these biomes here. So instead of being shiny and slick, they are more dry.
Those look like
covered in
termite
dry sand.
mounds.
The vegetation is
Yeah,
And I
whether
love
that's like
them-
a
added some of these
natural formation or
spiky
if it's
shapes to add
fauna.
some
Yeah.
verticality to the scattering.
I think it's natural,
yeah,
but I'd
outside
love it
the
to be fauna.
obsidian crack,
We really need to
this
see some
is
fauna.
what you will find on the planet most of the time. So this go-to point I picked to show some of the subtle color that we added to Pyro 5C.
You think you will see anything
so the obsidian crack
in the
is like
CitizenCon?
kind of just
Like, actual
dark,
fauna? Just as a
gray,
surprise?
black. The desert I just showed is also light gray, so
I don't
we
know.
felt this needed a bit of a color break.
But yeah, look at that
So we
nebula in
added
the sky.
some of these red
It's so nice.
hues to the
I'm kind of
occasional
sad that we
biome.
don't have
It's
such a
very
beautiful
rocky. You also
sky,
find
night
the
sky
red
on
sand
Earth.
on the
Like,
rocks
it's so
from
boring.
the biome accumulation.
You have stars,
and it
sure,
looks
but
really
where's
nice
the nebulas, man?
how the red creeps up into the crevices of the height maps in the background.
That's why we have web, I guess.
We're going to end our showcase today on Pyro 6. Pyro 6 has a very interesting color palette. Like, I really like the yellows and the pale beige tones of the terrain.
I like all
Then
those
you
meteor
have
impacts that
another
have
blue
created
ocean.
the ocean.
As you can see, the terrain is kind of ridden by craters, and we get these really cool shapes where the ocean fills in those craters.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
we jump
yes.
all the way down to the edge of one of those craters, so now we're at the edge of one of those craters. I'm jumping in game right now just to show you what it feels like walking along here.
So he spawned on the edge of one of the craters, and it still has like a 2-minute walk to until he gets to the water.
Looking coral
Scale
shapes,
is off the charts.
and then eventually you walk down here towards one of those craters that's filled with water.
You know what they need on a planet
couple
like
of floating
this
meshes here on the left
is
this is still work in
like
progress.
meteor showers
So
in
one
the
of us,
skybox.
probably me, has to go in
Yeah.
and adjust the settings of
Like
the spawning here.
how you see
then we're right at the
ships
edge.
come
And I
in
really
through
like
the atmosphere and they leave
color
the
of
fire
the
trails.
water
They need just
and how it looks
debris
against the
and
backdrop
rocks to
of
do
the
that as
white
well.
chalky
Exactly.
terrain. Then over here,
Yeah,
I want to
Tweed, you're not
introduce
wrong.
you to
Photo Citizen.
our human scale ref mesh. His name is Rüdiger. And he's super
Rüdiger?
helpful when we set up object presets, because you can immediately see how the scale of assets feel.
Seen it once, Dan.
When you have him in
And it was
situation, like he adds context to the
mind
scene.
blowing.
He spawns every time that object preset spawns, and yeah, he helps us find the right values when it comes to the scale of our assets. In general, this biome here is another good example of how our ground textures work together with the assets that we put on top. So the transition is really nice from this ground texture to this one. And then we have like the same rock set on both of them. And it makes for like
Lost Starch
nice
momentarily.
amount of
Think he'll be
detail
back.
on the ground. Then
Yeah,
occasionally
hello.
we spawn
Discord
some
just
of these
restarted.
spider-looking
Don't you love that?
ground
Yeah.
cover meshes. So this spot here is really nice because you get like the particles, the monochromatic terrain, the assets,
no.
and it's all
The
against
variation
the
I love.
backdrop
Like you had
of
such a
the skybox
colorful
of the
planet
pyro
before,
system,
but
which
this is just
red.
pure monochrome.
Then we get like some really cool looking
The like the
sunbeams
diffusion
the,
coming in is
the
lovely.
volumetric clouds.
It's called
here.
the crepuscular rays, by the way.
And then
Yes.
if I turn
Or God rays.
the
as-
sun
Or God rays
and
if
we make
you're
this,
up to that disposition. Yeah.
dark, and I jump in game,
that sky.
you can see
Look how it turned
Look
everything
at that
orange.
drastically the skybox impacts the lighting when you're on the dark side of the planet.
Wow.
And the skybox is just
Yeah.
it looks really good.
Wow.
So this is the skybox for the entire pyro system. So you will see it
Thank
on
you.
every single pyro
I
planet.
guess.
It's just that Pyro 6 has like a very thin atmosphere, so you see it well here.
Morning, Sargarath.
I'm happy to have had this opportunity to show you guys the work that we did in the last 2 years. I'm super excited to see you guys explore
says
the
last
Pyro
2
system
years for a
the
single
first time
solar
to
system,
hear
though.
your feedback. There's still work that
That's
going to
bring
do,
about a lot of discussions
but I
about how
hope
long
that
it's going
you
to take to
are
create
even more
the
excited
other
than
98
before,
systems.
after seeing what I showed you today.
Pyro is large though, but
It's true.
yeah.
There's a couple that are just empty.
And as they build more and more asset sets, new planets will become quicker to build. We also know that there's a lot of planets on various systems that were terraformed, so they can make all of those look pretty much
like
identical,
Microtech
right?
or like Hurston. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there are ways they can get around it, but I mean,
But they keep pushing the tech. Like they keep making new things. They would have to go back and update the older systems.
They will, but like you said, like looking at the scattering and the blending and everything in this for procedurally generated versus, versus where Stanton started, it's like they've come a long way.
Leaps and bounds. Oh, that looks so good. Those need to be harvestable, by the way. For some reason, I don't know why. I don't care why. They just need to be harvestable.
Well, they need to add a lot more harvestables to planets if they're going to start adding survival elements if you crash your planet, right? Like, you have to have harvestables that you can eat and drink and survive on, right?
And use for fire to warm yourself up with and stuff like that, yeah. That, I said it last year, but that is the sunset on Mars. Because it creates the exact same shades of very muted blue in the sky. Instead of orange that we have here.
Yeah, like, try and remember back to Pupil to Planet.
Yeah.
Right? And and you could see the different areas pop in, and you could see the distinct lines between, like, look at this shit.
Yes! I want to move there. I was one of the people who really didn't like being able to buy plots of land. But I want to buy a plot of land on that planet and build an outpost and just live there.
Yep. You'll be able to.
Hope so.
Well, we might they might actually talk
Pyro,
about that.
On Pyro, no, because it's outside UAE space, so you just go there.
Yeah, but you'll still be able to build something there if you want to risk it.
Sure, it just won't be part of the UAE protected.
Yeah, you'll have to protect it yourself, but you can do it.
Indeed.
This is insane. Okay, so quickly, everyone, what did you think of that presentation?
Love it. The environment artists are one of the greatest.
He's a game developer, a founder, a CEO. He made his first game when he was like 15. Anyway, he was sitting in my chair. And he's left. I don't know where he went, but he should not be let back in the building. Yeah, black shirt, jeans. Yeah, just keep him out of the building. Because he sat in my chair. All right, thanks. When are we live? Hi. Welcome back to CitizenCon 2952. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. And welcome to the spaceship, to the only constant. We are joined here by two CIG luminaries, VP of Development, Mr. Brian Chambers, and Chief Development Officer, Mr. Aaron Roberts. How you doing, guys?
Not too bad.
You were looking at me, and you thought I was
I hope they
forget
reserved
it I
that ship, that name in game for like Chris or Jared's comment.
Job hasn't changed. So I can't check it. So,
I'm getting notifications on my phone. As soon as the community video was up, it was up. Good. And now the Planetary Pyro Journey to 4.0 is up on YouTube as well.
Dreaming about this and just imagining doing this since 2015. Every time we talked about changing the stuff up and whatnot, like what should we do? It was always like, we should build a spaceship.
The back view screen.
So it's like,
It was like a quantum travel before. Now it is just pure screen.
You're always shooting stuff. You're shooting material constantly, so having a dedicated space.
The latest ISCs had him in Area 18. Have you seen that?
So we just watched Planetary Pyro. That was the first.
I bet it was in front of that screen.
Journey to 4.0 presentations that we're showcasing here today.
Properly framed, so you don't see the actual frame of the screen.
A brief tour throughout some of the planetary locations you saw from the upcoming Pyro system. You two recently took kind of a whirlwind tour of where'd you guys go?
We basically went over to Asia because we really wanted to go and visit some of the community over there. And so it was actually quite a lot of fun for us and actually a great experience in terms of learning a lot about the community over there and what they're like.
CIG, kind of come to Canada.
It's actually one of the better trips I've been on.
And you know what this kind of reminds me of?
Fantastic
the old Around the Verse set.
In the
with
events everywhere we went, and so it was really good, really educational.
I'm glad they went back to it.
Yeah, same. We first went to
Much
Korea.
cozier.
Had a nice bar citizen out there, hung out with people. great food, great fun stories. While we were in Korea, we did a live stream into the China Bar Citizen that was happening at the same time. So we had some technical difficulties streaming while we were there.
That made it more interesting.
Yeah. We couldn't hear them and so on, so they were typing out questions, but the banter was great.
Wow.
And then the next week we jumped over to Singapore and hung out with those guys as well.
I was going to say, we haven't had any technical difficulties so far today. I don't know. I was going to say nothing.
Yeah, what the
in
fuck?
here
They
is
started on
actually
time.
working.
So
There's nothing
while we're talking about it, the community actually gave us some cool stuff. So first, this was given to us by the Korean community.
This is Korea. Yeah, we'll have you open this.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This was for you. I don't know the full history behind it, but it is like a replica of an ancient scroll.
I bet it's like a scroll in bond.
But the characters are put together as Star Citizen characters.
That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Which is incredibly cool.
That guy's doing the Steve Bender.
So we each got one of those as well, but they specifically wanted us to bring one back for you.
Let me switch to Brian's cam. Let me see if I can move this over here and get it here. Brian, I'm going to hand this to you so I don't get out.
Absolutely.
Hold that and get a little closer to the camera there. There we go. That's very nice.
I got the string in the right. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Incredibly cool.
That's beautiful.
Like the Star Citizen community is so innovative and creative.
Yep.
Really cool.
Then we jumped over to Singapore.
I say this as part of that community, but it's what other people do. It still blows me away every day.
All the time.
One side. There we go.
I used to
It's
when
upside
I had
down.
time, but
Clearly.
nice.
We got everybody's signature, so we're going to put this up in our new offices in Manchester.
Hashtag
cool.
30K.
Very cool. So so these things. But anyway,
And then there's other stuff in there. You can pull some about if you want.
that's all for you.
Really cool little coins they made and cards and so on.
And of course, if you're not familiar
There's
with
so
what a Bar
much
Citizen
love
is, you can check
for
out
the game
barcitizen.sc.
in this
It is
community.
a completely community backer-run organization that helps coordinate basically gatherings of Star Citizens all around the world, including most recently Singapore and China and South Korea. I know. I think there was one in San Diego last night, if I was not mistaken.
There's one currently
This
happening
Star
in
Citizen
Canada.
Singapore, and it's made by the community,
Equinox.
and it is what is that? Oh, it's a Bar Citizen card.
Yep.
It's metal.
It's proper. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave that out. And there's some other challenge coins and stuff. We will go through
Absolutely.
this on our own time because people are probably like, just get to the next thing.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I know who our viewers are.
No,
so
I
before we do
actually
move
like
on to the
this.
next thing, Brian,
Yeah.
Aaron, it is our 10th birthday, our 10th anniversary.
I've missed like the reverse the verse
10,
banter.
It's 10
Just
something.
just
It was
banter.
an interesting
Yeah,
debate
just
whether this
peop-
was the birthday or the
they're-
anniversary because the anniversary is
they make
sometimes
the game, but they're also
November,
people,
The birthday is in October.
right?
Yep.
Whatever it is, it's 10.
They're
not
people
just-
that I
they're-
like too.
Yeah.
You got any
yeah.
favorite memories? Something? I don't know how long we're going to keep you here, so I want to use you when I got you here. On the spot here.
I've been here about 8 years, just about 8 years, right? So a fair amount of the 10. The first one that comes to my mind, there's a lot, but the most memorable one I would say would be 2016 at CitizenCon in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Very first CitizenCon I'd ever been to. Really hadn't interacted face-to-face with the community that much. We know we put a lot of love and effort into what we were going to show. Chris is on stage. He's about to show everything off. I'm looking for a seat. I couldn't find a seat. I went down basically middle floor in the theater and sat on the floor in between all the rows with all the backers. And as I'm sitting there and the demo's going, I already know the demo and the pacing, and then the sandworm blows out of the ground and everybody blows up. And I'm kind of below everybody because at this point they're jumping up. And just to
That
be
was the
there
point.
and for the people to have the reaction.
You
of the
remember?
thing
I
that you've
yelled
been
out,
working
"Ride the
on,
word,
right?
Muad'Dib."
That's something I'll never forget. It was something you're at that
I
level.
still want my worm.
You're feeling the love
Yeah.
from them, the excitement that they have. of
You know
they're
what I'd
doing.
love?
Wait, hold
Have
on.
one in a
I'm used to
jar
working
that
at
just goes
companies where we hold our stuff for 2, 3, 5 years
on the
without showing
table,
anything.
on a desk.
A
You have
stuffed
this
animal for
opportunity
it.
to show this off
Or
and
that,
you get
yeah.
this feedback, and it was my first basically interaction with community on a face-to-face basis. It was really cool.
Very cool. I was there at that time. I'm pretty sure we were sitting on the floor together at one point or another.
Probably, yes.
Aaron.
I mean, I think a lot of it's what Brian just said. I mean, the thing I always love to do and I'd like to do and you know haven't been able to do in the last couple of years.
You know, they
for
said
obvious
plus
reasons,
minus 2 hours, but
is
if it's
actually
plus
just,
minus 2 hours of this stuff, I'm
whenever
totally
the event's
for it.
going on, I hate being
I'm down.
backstage, so I
I
literally
love
just go
this.
and find. I like to go out amongst everybody and just sit there and watch the whole, watch the event and watch everybody's reactions to it, which is always a lot of fun. And the other thing about it is just that I've made so many actually good friends, you know, with people in the community and so forth. And meet people. There's a lot of community members now who enjoy going to scene again. All this sort of, you know, all this time. So the last 2 years have been kind of painful because I haven't been able to do that. But the ability just to be there with everybody and to see the reaction and have those conversations is the massive thing for me. It'd be too hard for me to pull, you know, one event. I mean, you know, there's some things that have happened which I probably can't talk about, which could be, you know, but I mean, but you know, but really in terms of
It's
general
design brief
really
investigations.
to be amongst everybody and see that.
That makes me excited.
Overall, just the journey we've been on in making this project, right? When I
That's gonna
started
be,
in Frankfurt with a handful of other people in Germany.
Oh, what did I forget the name? I'm blanking on the name.
Hassan,
It's mission
IT
design
in the UK, loaded up a van. And I remember this van showed up with our PCs, our monitors. Then they included like some pens and pencils and trash cans and a coat rack.
Oh, that's right. And then
we set everything up, and it was like cool. And we were just like, all right.
Wasn't it the event after that where he basically was working so late he got locked in Cologne?
Yes.
He couldn't leave. He basically got locked in, and so he basically had to sleep in the sleep in the
Look, Presley.
But no, it's just like.
And
lots of,
Elliot Maltby. I bet it's going to be
those
those
all
two.
that kind of stuff. There's so many stories. There's so many times I've met people, and just all the events. It's been fantastic.
It's a follow-up to that Hassan story. Hassan is one of my favorite people.
Yeah, he's good
here at CG. We were at,
I still
at Cologne in
remember
2016.
interviewing
that was a really hard
everyone in Manchester
to
in the UK.
And sitting with them on that last
you didn't interview me.
He and I.
No, like all the CIG devs, like Sandy got me a room in the back and just paraded people in one after another for me to interview, and it was one of the better memories of my life. Like
I'm going to take PTO next year. I'm like, you are not going to take PTO next year, and. The next year, he had 2
and
weeks.
being the
like,
volunteer at the
Gamescom
Austin
locked
Star
up,
Citizen
like,
was one of the better
took
memories of my
PTO.
life.
I told you, I'm like, you're my hero.
I sat in front for like 3
And then
hours
again, he
taking
set everything up.
photos
He had all the
of
backups done.
people
It went
sitting
off
on the
flawlessly, and
Dragonfly, but that was so good. It was such a great feeling. People kept breaking the line and coming up to me and talking to me, like the people who recognized me from videos and podcasts and stuff like that. It was
design brief investigations.
All right, here we go.
Common request
investigations.
we get from the community is to talk about things at their earliest states. Tell us what you're just thinking about, not necessarily the next thing or the thing after. Like, share the earliest design stuff for how a thing might work. Everything you're about to see can and will change dramatically from the point of today to the point where it makes the game. But we wanted to open that curtain to the earliest points, and we've got Luke Presley and Elliot Maltby, who are going to discuss an entirely new kind of mission. Not a new mission, an entirely new scope and type and design of missions that move away from combat and transport and go more towards cerebral deduction and investigation. So here we are, Design Brief Investigations, and we'll see you when you come back. Take care.
Hi, my name's Elliot Maltby. I'm a Principal Systems Designer. I work with Luke Presley on the Mission Feature team. I'm here today to talk about one of the new mission types we're prototyping.
Oh, they use the same set.
So this is an early look, a new mission type, and usually we don't give you a look this early. It's because we don't have the nice shiny visuals.
But people keep asking to see the design brief, so we thought, what the heck, we'll let you see.
Thank you. Let us see
how the sausage is made.
So a mission is...
I want to be in the room where it happens.
Types. And the mission type really is just the most critical or challenging objective in that mission.
Currently, we have a number of mission types in the game. Some of these are not built in that modular sense. Some of these are very much bespokely built to test out a feature at one time. The original PI Wanted is one of those. The current mission types that do exist is we have deliveries, which are essentially a form of collect and drop off. We have eliminate missions, which is just kill someone, and eliminate ship missions, which is go there and kill destroy a ship that has a person inside of it. And there's many more. The way we see missions is they're comprised of little bits of gameplay. So, for example, we have missions where you're sent to kill a singular person, or pick up a box, or kill a bunch of enemies. So the way how we build our missions is we combine these together. So we'll have missions where you have to pick up a box, but we'll have enemies there.
A mission has to have all the elements of those things. That's just gameplay, like a single gameplay element.
Out of a single objective. The assassination mission, for instance, has one objective: assassinate a target. But even the most simplistic mission, like the delivery mission, is actually built out of two objectives. There's the collection of the item and the delivery of the item. And if we made the collection of that item even more difficult, we'd refer to it as a collect mission rather than a deliver mission.
So our objective types, for the time being, have been pretty simple. Kill this person, go here, do this. Until now, we're now looking at doing one of the most complex type of objective and gameplay things we've tackled in MFT. With that said, we're working on a new mission type, and that's investigation. Currently in the game, the player can feel like a bounty hunter, a mercenary, a person who does deliveries, a cargo hauler. We want to make them feel like a detective as a new route. We're expanding constantly. We're building mining, salvage, and detective is going to be our focus in MFT.
The experience we want to give players with the investigation mission is that they feel like a detective, that they feel like they're collecting evidence that will ultimately answer the question that has been posed to them, and that they're able to kind of search through the evidence and find the red herrings and choose the right answer.
So what we want is we want to build a mission that requires you to have to think, requires you to have to look around, search your environment in detail, look at each individual clue, and make sure you fully understand it before
randomized.
You make your decision as the detective.
So that once you finish it, you don't immediately know all the
evidence
steps.
Will really have to be poured over to be able to determine whether it's actually credible or not. We also wanted to create narratives around our locations that we haven't done before, really dig into why.
Yeah, exactly. Once you do the PI Wanted mission, you know exactly what happened.
Or why has this cargo gone missing? At the core of this mission, we're really asking the player to use their brain rather than their gun or their ship.
So for this mission type, I don't want to breadcrumb players along. I want you to feel like a detective. I will give you a story, I will give you little bits of clues, and you have to make up this full sort of painting and decide exactly what has happened here. And then the rest of the decision is on yours. I might not tell you if it's wrong or right, you might find out. The idea is that you feel like a detective and you're so sure of your decision that you're going with that. So the next stage in this whole process is building a pitch. We have to come up with our ideas, how we want it to work, and then we have to present it to CR, Tony, and Todd, and make sure they're all happy with it and all of our visions are aligned. So when we're building the pitch, we start off by going over the ideal experience we want for the player. We start off with the most advanced things, all the gameplay mechanics we could dream of to bring this sort of role to life as a detective. And then we have to start looking at stripping it back to see when we can release it, what's the minimum viable product for this experience.
And in the case of the investigation mission, we came up with two. So the first pitch is extremely simple, and it revolves around being able to find a definite answer, like something that is undisputable. For instance, we came up with a mission where there is a repairman that's gone missing, and you can go to his office and you can find some correspondence that will lead you to another place, which will have his work itinerary on there, and they're all crossed off until one. And if you're smart, you'll go to that location, and should you go to that location and do a little searching, you'll find his body there, and he's been like electrocuted, fixing the final thing on his list. And there's your definitive ending. Whereas the second pitch, it's more about allowing the player to choose when they're done, like when they think they have solved the mystery. And the way we do this is we scatter evidence around the location and clues that lead you to that evidence. And obviously there can be red herrings in there. You can get your answer up to a credible state.
I guess it is
which
just
might
data
still be the wrong
pads.
answer but you can
For now.
complete the mission.
For now, yeah.
Whereas if you'd have carried on digging a little more, maybe found a
I
few
guess
more
they'd
clues and
want
followed them,
the
you would
FPS system to
perhaps
be in
find an
game before they start
indisputable,
building on top of it.
piece of evidence,
Like the scanning
you know,
system.
I did it kind of thing, that would get you the bonus for the mission. And both pitches had their strengths and weaknesses. The simple pitch, we could see how easy it was
I do
to
like,
scale,
like you say,
and
Mazer.
it
Like I
involved
like that
less,
it's got the different suspects,
less
and you can
complex
see the
narrative
levels
work.
of.
But we ultimately decided to go for the second
Oh,
because
hello.
we liked the idea of giving the player the agency to decide when they were
Passcode
done.
protected. Okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
So we're in
I
the
don't mind the
prototype
data
phase with
pads.
investigation
They
mission,
are a viable
which is more important than
source of
ever
information, but
because
there needs to be
it's
more.
such a complex mission, and we need to ensure that it's scalable
Yeah.
and that other designers can make their own mysteries with it.
With the pitches, we can now prototype and sort of get that gameplay feel and see which one we want to explore more for the player's experience. Some of the hardest points of
Like
this are going to
scanning
be
a dead
the
body
scalability
and
of it.
trying to
An
find out
investigation
what
at its core is
exactly
a
killed
story.
it.
So
Well,
Instead
once
of
we
it
have
just-
story should always be at the forefront and the
like
focus.
more
So
medical,
the first stage of
combining the
prototyping
medical with
was to
this
prove
would be
that we
great.
could Make it like a mystery happen in the most restricted
Like,
location
was
we have,
he
which was, like, a
shot
gunfight. So it's
by
kind
a
of
gun, or was
into-
he
into
like
play
eviscerated
between the
by
crew of it. From
an
there,
animal?
we're
You know,
going
those are
to
two different
expand
ways of
so that
dying.
it
But
takes us
right
to
now,
more locations and
all you
uses
end
all
up
of
is
the,
with a corpse
like
that doesn't tell
evidence
you how it died.
retrieval interactions that we
Yeah.
currently have. For instance, like you can kill a guy and get information off him. You can find a corpse, get information off it. You can loot a box, get information off
A
it.
feral pico,
And
exactly.
then we'll be prototyping the newer ways of getting information off of things. We're looking into using the med gun to find the name and cause of death of people, and we're looking
Yes,
into
that's-
being able to find the mobile in an inventory and download data from it.
One of the hardest things that we have to figure out is
Thank
the
you.
story. The investigation
That's
will
good.
live and die by its
Yeah.
story. So we work very closely with the writers to try and figure out what kind of story we want to tell, what kind of clues we want to give, and then after that point, we look at sort of what obstacles we want to put in your way. You know, keypad locked doors, enemies, like traversal puzzles, things like that.
The main challenge for creating this mission is ensuring that the player has enough guidance to complete it without putting mission markers on everything. Like, it is supposed to be about them searching, figuring clues out for themselves, and finding the answer themselves.
We want you to still feel like that detective, but ensure that we're giving you enough information in the ways that we can.
And we're working with the UI designer.
I
on the
hope
new
their
mobile
mission
device,
system
which should really help with
supports
this.
the sort of branching thing. That, you know, every time you find a clue, it could
So
point
this
you in
has
a
been
different
our
direction.
video design brief on our investigation missions. We're really excited to bring these to you. We wanted to give you an early look to let you know what we're thinking and see what you're thinking about these as well.
And we're really
We need
excited
that,
about
and
it
we need the
because
randomness.
It will allow us to inject a lot more story into the persistent universe.
So with everything we do,
Because right now they're
iteration is a key part
randomizing
of,
just names of
how we build
NPCs.
things.
But even
So
like
by
the
the time
mission,
you
like
see this, maybe by the time
one
it
of the
comes
new
out, it
missions,
might
like
have
the Pride of
changed
our
drastically.
Pride of
We
our
don't know
list.
yet. We're still working
It's
on it and
always
figuring out
the same
fine
people.
details.
It's always the same
Player
shit.
experience and player agency is at the focus of what we're trying to achieve.
They could create
We're
so much
really
more diversity
excited
if they
and hope you
just
are too.
changed
And I'm sure we'll be
some of the
talking about this
locations
again in the
of
future.
NPCs in the ship, or change the names of the NPCs, or change the name
Yeah.
of the ship, instead of having
Just
the exact
randomize-
same mission.
And that was Design Brief Investigations. Joining us here, and the only constant to follow
And I
up
think
on
they'll
that
get to that.
is Star Citizen Live Game Director, Mr. Todd Pappy.
But that needs more
And
quanta,
Star
which
Citizen
we
Narrative
don't have
Director,
yet, right?
Mr. Dave Haddock.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, I love this. New people coming in,
These
old
missions.
people just going to the
We've got
bar and
combat
getting
missions, we've got,
wasted.
Calling missions. This is a whole new narratively driven kind of initiative for the Persistent Universe. What can you add to what's being said? Is this? How does this work, Dave?
I'll
what
say,
kind of missions are we talking about? What kind
really
of stories
like
are we
this that
looking
they
at here?
showed it to us
I mean,
really early.
again, we're still trying to figure out.
So yeah, it looks promising.
really
There's time for us to talk
interesting
about it,
challenge,
make
because
suggestions.
basically, with a
Great,
mystery,
perfect.
It's tied into the story, and so, but because we need to populate the universe, like it's presenting a really interesting challenge of how do we make these modular, but yet still feel specific. So it's a really unique challenge to try and navigate.
I'll be
those
back
waters
in a minute. I need
until
to get a
something that's
refill,
satisfying.
and you
again,
keep
kind
me
of
apprised of
a
anything I
new
missed.
style of gameplay to engage people in a much more non-combat specific way that lets them kind of take advantage of all of our systems and just kind of explore and get to be these kind of detectives. Really. Well,
and ideally, it's something that you can't always notice or always be like, okay, it's Colonel Mustard with the
lead pipe.
with the lead pipe or the rope, So we want to make sure that it feels unique, to the area and interesting. So like Dave said, I think it is going to be a big challenge for us to figure it out.
And the fun thing about it too is this is a type of mission where it's not just knocking out checkpoints on a list. So part of the fun with it was creating a system where the onus is on the players to feel like they have enough information to have solved the case, but not flat out telling them right out the bat, yes, you have, or no, you haven't. So it's definitely a fun thing that's presenting a lot of cool, unique opportunities of, you think it may be going one way, but there might be a key piece of evidence that you've missed that completely blows the case open.
I know we often refer to the Persistent Universe as the sandbox, but I think a lot of people will anxiously be looking forward to more storytelling possibilities, more narrative possibilities within the Persistent Universe. So like that. So it is our 10th anniversary. So I'm asking everybody who's joining us today for your favorite 10th anniversary stories. Todd, you're looking at me very intently, like what are you thinking right now? I can't get lost in your eyes. Not today.
Well, if there was going to be any day, it should be today. For at least for me, it would have to be at least one of the sitcoms. I know Brian mentions like the Homestead demo.
Miss much story.
I think even just getting 3.0 out the door.
Dan disagrees with you.
That was such an arduous process, and
that's just Dan.
Climbing up that hill was a difficult one, but to finally get that out.
Also, it wouldn't be me if I didn't say that the
see people's reactions.
Freelancer, the Arrow, the PTV,
I made this unfortunate bet with the community.
the Dragonfly on Jared's desk are by Jared F. So if you want one of those for yourself, go to jaredf.sc.
Comes out. It is December. We are in the global go, no go. To launch a big patch like this is very much like mission control. Everybody's checking in, I'm good. And we get to, and Aaron is on this call, he's leading this call. He goes, well, that seems like everybody. I'm in a bathroom listening to it on a thing with a razor ready to go. And Aaron, I don't know if you remember this, Aaron, but you go, all right, that's everything, we're ready to go? And Chris goes, well, maybe we should check a few more things so Jared doesn't have to shave. and I usually sit in these meetings and I'm muted. I'm not supposed to be talking in these meetings. I'm muted. I'm like, you launched this thing. And then it was Aaron who took pity on me. He's like, all right, launch the patch. Do you recall that at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Dave, we'll get your story before we move on to the next thing. What's your favorite memory in the last 10 years?
I mean, it's tough to lock it down. I mean, I have two kind of distinct areas. There's it was the morning of the GDC announcement. Like, I was in LA.
I will be right back.
Woke up early to watch the live stream. So hearing Chris after, at that point I'd been on it for a couple of months of finally pitching it out and seeing the reactions of people freaking out and crashing the website and all that good stuff was definitely, the kind of the first indicator of what this could be, that this was really tapping into something that people really wanted to see. But for me, one of the big ones was the 2015, like the PCAP shoot, just to be able to work with that cast. The crew was amazing. Everything about it was just like this real engaging. I mean, it was a three-month shoot, right?
Yeah, I think it was 3. That's one that stands out for me huge as well.
It was.
I mean, the cast that was there and the how you dealt with them on a daily basis and the passion that they had into the script, and it was so cool.
Yeah, and there was these sort of fun, weird things of, you know, there's the.
So Ari has either gone
There was
to
a song that came about
to get a
during the
drink
production
or to check
I
up on
won't
his
spoil
family,
anything. I
because
don't know if it's actually
unfortunately
been released, but, that
they've
became sort of the
been a
theme
bit
song of
under the
entire
weather,
show, which was
and
Xylo's-
he's being a
Xylo's
very good
blowing up
husband
my
and
phone
father,
saying
and
we need to,
checking up
hurry
on
it
them
up.
and taking care of them.
So I
Hopefully
don't know what that
everything
means
is
so much,
fine.
but just letting you know.
And he'll be back soon.
All right, bring it back to me. All right. So thank you so much, Todd and Dave. It's time to move on to our next Journey to 4.0 presentation, the new Underground, where we explore what you think you know about underground facilities and then explode them in a whole new way. So check that out.
Just an update there. So
welcome back.
Thank you. My wife hurt her neck really badly. She hasn't been able to move all week, and my son spent yesterday throwing up. So
how are they?
Now this was a presentation
well, my
that we
wife
did
still can't move,
originally a
but
little while back. And what we're going to cover is how we're going to take one of the
Well, I hope they get well soon.
locations we have in the game right
No,
now.
I hate
but
that
actually really
phrase.
design
Get well
it,
soon. Yeah, I
from the
want you to
ground
get
up
better,
be
but
the
I want you to
location archetype
suffer
that
just
we
a little
really
bit
wanted.
first.
Okay,
No,
let's
get
get
well
started.
now. Immediately. Post haste.
please, it's been a long week.
Yeah.
All right, Underground,
Let's
that's
talk
what we're
about
at?
the original
Yeah,
underground
I hope it's more than
facilities.
just
now, the
environment.
problem was we made these originally for the CitizenCon presentation demo, and the time we had wasn't enough to kind of take the location where we wanted it to be. Now, it kind of fits the current purpose. It's fairly small in scale. It gives a multi-room layout opportunity for FPS combat, but we always knew we wanted it to be able to scale, you know, small, medium, large to accommodate
Oh no, there's just
maybe 60 minutes
the
of
vault at
gameplay,
the end.
Time per location. So how do we go about designing a location archetype from the ground up? So what we do is we split the location into the core areas we want to visually develop. Now for underground facilities, the first thing we're looking at here is what we're calling Zone 1. So this is the presence on the landscape.
I wonder how much
so
they'll
what we're looking at here
call back to
is
the
an example
microtech
shot of what a medium-sized
sneaking
underground
mission.
facility could look like. So dominant features
Yeah,
that
I'd
we're
love to
seeing
see
here
more of that.
is a kind of a key spire. This is instantly where your player, you should be able to navigate towards.
Big hangers.
This could be like a corporate wing or an executive landing pad on the top. And then moving
Kind of
down,
reminds me of
it's
the
very
Hurston
important to be able
Dynamics
to
building.
get the landing pads or the landing hangars
more industrial.
quite close to the facility because we wanted that experience as the player
Yeah,
lands.
it does.
They're not far off from the location. They're actually quite close, and you should be able to see.
And somehow
a little
the old
FPS
exterior
area,
of
where the player lands.
Levski.
Also, what we're seeing here is some visual justification at what might actually be going on. So you're seeing, you know, processing and tanks and supplies actually on the landscape there. Now, what I was saying before about it being a kind of a much braver visual presence on a landscape. So we designed the silhouette primarily, so you'd be able to recognize these as a location to aim for. Also, what we're seeing here is we thought it'd be cool to actually have surface entrances as well. So we're actually thinking about primary, secondary, and tertiary ways for the player to get into these
Isn't it
locations
bearing with an
depending
H?
on the mission scenario. So like I said before,
I
you've
thought
got,
it was.
like executive pads at the top. Got
No,
the
it
main
is.
hangars
There
in the
is
middle,
an H, but the
surface
big sign
entrances
was
down
without
there
H.
below. Now
You're
moving
right.
on to the
They spelled it
inside,
wrong.
after the players landed through the hangars, to be brought up into the main corporate reception. Now these are going to be quite interesting because we'll be able to rebrand these depending on the manufacturer or the location. That's where we'll
Yeah,
give a
it's
lot
just
of
the
the
concept
variety.
artist putting
But
a
this
logo
is the
on it,
corporate
yes.
presence before the player would go
Could be
down
boring.
into the bowels of the facility. And what we're seeing here is, you know, just an example of what a bearing reception could feel like. Now moving into Zone 2, with it being an underground facility, the physical act of going underground, that's cool, right? So we wanted Zone 2 to be about the logistics of the player going up and down and how we can make that cool visually, but also interesting from a player experience. So this is the transit, the elevator network. So we played around with a few different
this is
ideas
very
into this, and one of the things that
Half-Life.
we thought could be quite interesting,
Like the actual
is
elevator, huge
the
elevator that goes down with the
itself
vehicle.
could be a mini play
Get
space.
the
So
full
what we're
vehicle
looking
there,
at
right?
here is
Like,
yeah,
control room.
Get
idea
stuff from
quite
each
what sort of skill
floor and
vehicles there could
stack
be.
it
Now,
in there.
ultimately,
And
we didn't go with this idea. It was, didn't really fit the art style that we wanted, but it had some pretty interesting ideas. So what we landed on here is something that we felt quite comfortable with internally. Now, it's worth noting we're designing these as an archetype first in a utilitarian art style. In the future, we'll expand out and do other art style variants. So what we're seeing here is the control room overlooking the main
kind of like the
and then
hangar.
This elevator should be big and
well,
clear.
and, like there's so
but instead
much,
of a landing pad, there's an elevator. Yeah.
there's so much more play area in this as well than we have right now.
On
in
the top
Underground.
level,
Yes. This looks like it's combined arms. It's on foot and vehicles. But right now we only have on foot for UGFs.
Opportunities for the player there. And down below, this is what the player would kind of see. So now they're really starting to get into the bowels of the
You could
facility.
have like
echoing
a
of that
vehicle with a
control room
turret
down
there as
below,
defense
but also
and
this
send
is what
out
will present
people.
the player with an opportunity
Yeah.
to choose
No, but the
area
actual
they wanna go,
scope of
maybe
the entire thing,
cargoes
it
to the
really
left,
reminds me of
maybe
like
processing
Black
to the right,
Mesa
or maybe
facility
technicals
and
up
the
above. Part of
Portal
that
2
process
stuff,
of
which is
how
like
we design,
huge
if we look at things
caverns
about
with a
from the
bit
player's
of
point of view. So what we're
industry
seeing here
attached
is
to them.
pretty good indication about
Instead
how
of
the
just
player
being
would
like
exfiltrate from the
a
location.
room underground.
So a lot of the lines are leading towards the elevator because we want navigation to be as intuitive as possible.
I love this.
Moving on to zone 3, so this is the bowels of the facility. So these are going to be spaces that we've never really explored before. A lot of the locations in the game tend to be quite residential, but here we're going for something completely industrial. As a player, you want to feel like an ant almost to the location. The primary purpose is not for you to be walking around, so we dedicated spaces towards logistics, and we put kind of personnel walkways almost as a secondary element. So in this image, you're kind of seeing where big trucks could kind of go, but we've also got like little nooks and crannies for the player to kind of explore and go into.
Like
now,
little
as
off
it
rooms,
being
that's
a
great.
location dedicated towards the moving
With
of logistics,
I don't care
we wanted
what
to explore and
specifically,
have
but
fun with
a
vehicles,
bit
right? So
of
here we're seeing the mule
extra
kind of coming and
lore.
going on one of
Like
these walkways.
so you see
maybe
that
there's elevators.
these
So on the right, what we're seeing
places are
is
used
a
by
ladder.
people.
Yeah.
So with all
They're
of these
active
play spaces
facilities.
that we
Let's
were
fill
doing,
them
having
with
fun and
life.
visually exploring.
Yeah.
We
But
always
right now,
kept
the
in mind
UGFs,
different
I
ways
have
for
no
the
idea
player
what
to
it is
traverse
supposed to
through
be,
the scene.
but it
Also,
feels
as
just
part of
like
that, we wanted
a
to think about
random FPS level.
verticality. So not just a linear direction of traversal, but also ways in which we could go vertically. So maybe there's the concept of a cargo elevator within the corridor. So kind of similar to how you'd see on a character be a little control room looking at the flight deck. Here you could kind of see something very similar. Maybe this time it's a gameplay puzzle is about how you could bring cargo in and out. Maybe as a player you're trying to steal some cargo out. There's tons of potential for how we could do puzzles.
I like this. It does make those vehicles more useful. If you have to land, get the vehicle in, and then get it all the way to the back of the facility to pick stuff up, because you'll never be able to walk it out.
Yeah,
tons of
especially if you have cargo that you
not
just
only
can't pick
cool
up by
visuals,
person.
but also
as a
ways
person.
in which you can reveal extra traversal opportunities. So as that cargo deck goes down, you
But
see
just
other ways
this
to kind of
scene,
traverse through into the
you have
facility.
two floors
Okay, so what we're
that you
looking
could,
at here is
that are
kind of
connected.
an example corridor. Now, corridors in our game are quite important to us, but they don't necessarily have to be boring. Now, what we're seeing here is an establishment of a radial motif. Now, with this being subterranean, we wanted to always imply that there's a weight kind of pushing down. So this radial motif is the best load bearing. So as a design language, instantly was feeling quite right. So in this traversal corridor, what we're seeing is a few different things. Clearly, there's a clear route for logistics. That's cool. But also on top of that, you've got these side routes, which is where personnel would go.
split hierarchy, so it would be pretty cool for FPS combat, you know, for opportunities.
I want at the end of
And then
these
leading
corridors
in,
just to
underneath,
have
you're kind of seeing
like
a tertiary route.
idle
Now,
tunnel
part of
digging
this could
machine,
be this, maybe
because
it's
they just
stealth route, or maybe
haven't
this is the upper
expanded
area is
the
blocked off, so the
facilities
player
so
has
far.
to go
Yes.
down below.
Yeah.
So even within,
I want, like
something as a concept of
Close Stan and Dan
corridor,
have said, I want
we
boss
want to
fights
design
at the end
many
of this.
different
Like,
avenues for the player
give me
to
something
Okay,
challenging
so
at
what
the
we're
end.
looking at here is the underbelly of that concept we just showed. So up above, dedicated
Yeah, but
towards
this
logistics,
is
maybe
purely
containers going through, shipping containers going through.
a design
Underneath
brief
here,
for
maybe
the
this is just
environment
more
art.
towards
It's
the,
not
the
gameplay.
processing of it. Maybe hydraulic cylinders for these.
But there's so many
elevators coming
possibilities
around.
with these
Hierarchically,
larger
it's a
facilities.
Different
Yeah,
mood.
to
So up
create
above,
gameplay.
it's
Like
cleaner, it's
the
noisier.
UGF's really
Below,
limited
darker, more
you what
steamy,
you could
and
do
again,
in
that
those places
presents
because
other opportunities for
they
gameplay. Now,
are
we can't have these corridors
tailored
going
just
on
for
forever. Performance-wise,
on-foot
we'd never
traversal.
be able to draw it. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the most entertaining.
This
for the player.
opens up so many
So we came up with the idea of introducing these
possibilities to
bulkheads.
build on
So
top
these
of. Yeah.
bulkheads are almost checkpoints. So it enables us to break that draw distance, but it also enables us to break the rhythm of traversal. So from going from a corridor into an ops room or
Looks
something
like the
that, that's
view
a way in
numbers
which
on
to
the
kind of
official Star
checkpoint
Citizen
the
channel have
progress through the
settled at
location.
27,000.
So inside these
not bad.
bulkheads, we could maybe array like ops rooms. Maybe these are.
I feel like they've had
scanning
more in the
checkpoints,
past, but it's still
that
not
can
bad.
Kind of monitor the movement of cargo to and from. You know, also inside here, you know, there could be tea rooms. or
I
break
feel
rooms
like
or
the view
offices.
parties are much
So
more
again,
prevalent
we're
this
trying
year.
to break the rhythm
Yeah.
of
Like I said
traversal,
before,
so
you
the
have at
players going
least
from a large
3,000
space
people
to a
now.
small space, but also from one theme
like,
to
no,
another
so
theme. And what that will hopefully do is create a really
Just-
good rhythm
yeah,
of play space.
just
where the
on
players are
channels that
getting,
I follow, there's another
bored of,
3,000 people watching.
traversing through the
Yeah.
space. So what we're seeing here is a side view to kind of explain how that process. So on the left, we've come in from the corridor. So on the top, we're seeing the primary route through, and we're seeing the bottom route coming in as well. So this is how, again, we're going to try and keep verticality.
Yeah, follow
as a
Stan,
traversal
absolutely.
motif in mind.
That would
Now,
that
going
would
from a
give
large
like
corridor
boss fights,
set
but
to
also
what
you
we're
could get
considering here, medium or small. So these
that
are
part of
the
exploration, because they've talked about how
tertiary
part of
networks
exploration
that
will
will
be
link into the
finding
primary, traversal
flora and fauna,
So
right?
these again will
So you
be
get that like
continuing
subdue it,
the radial motif
keep it
that we've been
alive.
seeing.
Love that
And
idea.
These would take the player and connect into the main spaces. Now, from
I'm-
traversal networks to theme
I'm
rooms.
genuinely
Now, as the players
stunned
traversing
that
through,
they're
we
still
wanted to
going on
chapter
this.
that
Like
experience with key theme
these
rooms.
these
Now, what we're
buildings are
seeing here is an
massive.
example of an industrial space. Maybe it's processing. We didn't want to go too specific, just so that in the early development
But I just
process, we
noticed
wanted to
that
explore
something
motifs that could work. So here we're seeing an example.
as an
processing
exterior
room,
element, we've
but there's a few
seen
key
huge
that's
things
kinda
in
cool.
the
So
Star Citizen
right
universe.
from
We
the
have
bottom level,
stations,
there's a network
we
of
have
levels
the
which,
Hearst Dynamics
will
building,
be
but from an
dedicated towards
interior
processing,
point of view.
you know, pipes, machinery.
There
all of
isn't
that
really
sort of good
much.
stuff. And then as we get higher
Yeah.
up,
Like
we're
the
seeing that
biggest
very
thing have been the
dominant
hospitals
kind of
recently.
technical control wings.
Well, I think what we're starting to
suspended
see
play
is
space.
possibly some
an
of the
idea
results
to
of Squadron
create
42
a plethora of,
locations.
interesting opportunities as a play space to fight the way through or solve puzzles. One of the things early on we wanted
Like you said before,
is
the
cause
Archon
and
station
effect.
is supposed to be
We
fully
wanted the
explorable,
player
and
to
that's
be
huge.
interacting,
And then
solving
the
puzzles,
OMC
but
base,
seeing that reflect into the space.
and possibly other
Another
things
theme room
that
idea we came up with was processing. So bringing in raw materials, processing them through, ready for manufacturing. So we had a bit of fun.
I think they've
with,
got something wrong here, because that's
ways
the
in which
same
we could
image they were just
create
showing.
these quite interesting set pieces. So it's not all just industry.
there we go. That's different.
In the underbelly of these underground
Oh, yeah.
facilities.
Holo
There's also
tables,
gonna be
when
technical areas.
properly functioning holo
Areas
tables,
dedicated
CG,
towards
please.
the control of the location. So what we're seeing here is maybe it's the main map room. So this is where they control the networking of everything. And also on here, you've got the overseeing executive suite. So it's not just technicians here, but also executive wings. And also as a bit of fun, if the player does get access to these executive wings, then we're seeing another type of art style in here as well. So we've seen industrial, we've seen technical.
So you
now
have
we'll
in
be
the
seeing,
even
more
in
like
the Earth
corporate,
Dynamics
foyer we saw
CBD building,
above, so
you have
meeting
these
rooms,
executive
office
wings and you
spaces,
have the
that sort of
VIP
thing.
suites,
And what
but
we're
all
seeing
of those
here is
are
maybe
locked
there's the
behind
data
closed doors.
processing
You
of the
can't actually
location.
get to
So
them.
as a quick idea, we thought
That's
They
going to
keep
change.
teasing
data
these.
racks are actually
Yeah.
submerged for cooling in a base of water. We thought
Water
also
in the
call it
base?
this
That's
a
cool.
cause and effect. So if the player solves a puzzle to go from it being below water to above water. So again, ways in which we can kind of spark ideas or conversations with design about interesting.
Well, and they're going
So we came up with ideas about how we'd see excavation
yeah.
equipment or
Well,
you know,
that
with the
rust.
roads kind of peter out.
I think it's like
and as part of the roads,
2 a.m. over there right now.
You know, maybe we can do some pretty cool layouts for the player to drive through. Something that's a little bit more invested in just a straight line. Now, as part of that transition period between heavy industrial to exposed cave, the equipment needed to create further UGF spaces, you know, maybe there's a large boring machine still there.
Oh, look at that.
Maybe that comes into some form of gameplay opportunity
Here's
for
the
player
mule.
to
Like we get
traverse
all the
over,
way through
interact.
that, and then there's the giant cavern
Also,
at the
as
bottom.
part of that, another opportunity to introduce a new
With
element
tunnel boring
to the space
machines
could be
making new tunnels.
as we're transitioning towards more natural spaces.
Well, and start
we can
giving
not only
us
introduce
look at that
different types of geology, but maybe
stuff
we're introducing
in the
some form of
caverns.
liquid.
Like
So
the biggest
depending
problem
on
with the caverns right now is they're
location, maybe
empty.
it's on a certain planet. There could be like underground rivers, underground lakes. Maybe it's lava.
No, there's like 3
maybe
NPCs
it's
on them.
acidic.
That's it.
And also, if we're describing these locations right
It's
from
just-
the early visual development process, and what we're looking
Okay,
at
so
here
we
is
moved on
very
from
loose
from
concept
just
meshes
2D
brought
concepts
into the
to
engine,
white box.
quickly lit just for that exploration process.
But yeah, the ads.
That's an overview of what we're pushing for the new underground facilities. I'm quite excited about it, and hopefully you are soon.
Hey,
No
live
sound.
content.
Showing you more in the
No
future.
sound. I've got sound on my end.
We didn't change anything. It's like we just kept it running. It's weird.
Can you check the stream by any chance, Darsh?
Let me check. Oh, wow.
It seems like it said it was reconnecting the stream, so I'm hoping that this will work. I've restarted the stream. Please let me know if audio's working, because I've got audio levels on my end.
Yeah, because we didn't do anything.
No, I didn't touch a thing. This is Twitch.
All right. That was The New Underground, starring our very own Star Citizen art director, Mr. Ian Leland. Ian, why are we redoing the?
So I guess the chat didn't hear the tractor going
well,
by my
kind
house.
of as we said in the segment, we always wanted it to be a much bigger, more special location in the game. So it was always on our.
Try restarting OBS completely.